Hey everybody, we're going to get started with our practice in a seated position today. So go ahead and make your way there and let's get right to it. So cross legs is great if possible. And I always like to take a moment or two just to kind of shift around and settle into those sit bones so that I can kind of feel anchored as I lift through my chest so we can sit up nice and tall as we take a big breath in. And how about a sigh out the mouth? And let's just take a couple more like that. Big, giant, full inhale. Maybe making some sound on that exhale. And let's go ahead and take one more before eventually drawing our breath in through our nose, out through our nose. And as we continue to breathe, let's just make some really slow circles with the shoulders. So we can just kind of inhale, sweep the shoulders up towards the ears. On our exhale, we can roll them back and down. And all the while, we're focusing on our breathing. We're letting the inhales become fuller and bigger, more expansive in our body. And we're using a little bit of effort and control to complete the exhale also, maybe a little more fully. And this is going to be kind of a quickie practice, just about 30 minutes. So let's see if we can really maintain our commitment to doing our best, to staying engaged with our breath, and really being consistent and steadfast in that commitment, whatever it is that brought you to your mat today. So let's let this evolve into some cats and cows. We can grab onto those knees and inhale, kind of use that leverage to pull our chest up, shoulder blades relax down the back as we lift the chin. Such a nice stretch for the whole front and back body. As we exhale, we can reverse that. We'll tuck and round, chin to chest, kind of rocking back on those sit bones. And let's just take a few more like that to the rhythm of our own breath. And consistency is the theme today. We're reflecting on that concept of being really consistent with our action. Again, whatever it is we're working on in our practice, whatever it is we're working on in our life, maybe whatever it is we're working on internally, right? Like within our own selves. Consistency is such a necessary ingredient to get results, to move forward and make progress. So it's good you're here. It's good you showed up. Let's take just one more of those seated cats and cows. And then we'll find that neutral place. Let's let those fingertips release out to our side, using our next breath in to lift the arms up overhead. And if we can switch the cross of our legs without using our hands, let's go ahead and do that. Almost forgot. And we will interlace our hands. So holding our own hand up over our head and seeing if we can flip those palms upward. So again, we're thinking about relaxing shoulders away from the ears. We're thinking about drawing our core muscles, our abs in and up. And we're breathing nice and deep. And let's just take a little tick-tock side to side. If we want to develop flexibility, for instance, it is not enough to show up to one yoga class one time for 30 minutes or an hour and expect to see a difference, right? It takes, again, that commitment and repetition and consistent effort over time. Beautiful. The next time we tick over to the left, let's let those arms fall into a twist. So the right hand can find the left knee, left palm grounds behind us as we turn and gaze over that left shoulder. Just for a breath or two. Nice, and then we can come through center. Let's once again interlace those hands. Maybe you can remember which one you had or which thumb you had on top, and do the one that probably feels a little awkward, the opposite one, as we inhale those arms up once again. And just take a few more of those tick-tocks, and it's okay if you're moving at a different pace than I am. Maybe there's a habit that we're trying to cultivate. Maybe it's exercise, right? Maybe it's showing up to yoga or eating healthy or being a little more productive in our workday. Maybe it's being a little more gentle in our language with our kids or our partner. Nice. The next time we tick over to the right, we'll let it evolve into a twist. It's pretty unlikely, I think, that we'll be able to just do a complete overhaul on our nutrition or our eating habits or behavior or communication patterns, all those bigger, deeper things overnight, right? It's something that happens gradually over time with repeated, consistent effort, attention. Beautiful. Let's finish one more breath here. And then this time, as we pass through center, let's just walk the palms out in front of us and take a little fold over those legs. And if we can, rest the head and chest and belly down. We can feel free to do that. Very nice. And our next breath in, we're simply going to roll forward to our tabletop. So finding hands and knees however we can. We're going to bring those palms under our shoulders, knees under hips. Let's just take a couple of cat-cows here. So it's again an inhale to drop the belly and look up, and exhale to round through the spine. Sometimes I like to keep my toes tucked underneath just to get a little bit of a stretch in the feet. We can always set this free a little bit. We might wag the tail side to side, head side to side. Keeping that breath strong and flowing. And then we'll come through center and see if we can extend that left leg behind us. So the left foot will float in the air, and let's take some circles through that ankle. One way and then the other. And 3 times we're gonna do a little knee to nose crunch. You are free to add that right arm if you want to, if you want to amp up the balance challenge a little bit. So either way, just the leg or maybe arm and leg, we're gonna inhale, get nice and long, look up. And exhale, keeping that core engaged and pulled in and up. We're gonna squeeze our knee to our elbow or toward our nose. And let's just do 2 more like that on this side. Inhale, get nice and long, peek up. Exhale, squeeze. Lovely, just one more time. Big squeeze. And then we can release knee and palm. Maybe give it a little shake. And we're just gonna move right along to the other side. We're gonna inhale that right leg behind us now and just pause here for a moment, circling around through the ankle. We can wiggle the toes. Seeing if we can keep the hips sort of level. Usually the leg that is lifted, that hip likes to kind of peek up a little bit higher than the other one. And we're gonna go for those 3 crunches on the other side. So again, we can do just the leg or we can add the left arm. Let's inhale, stretch it long. Exhale, squeeze knee to nose. 2 more, just to your own breath. Wonderful, last one. Big squeeze. And then same thing, we can release it. And let's sit back on the heels for a moment. So again, toes can be tucked underneath us or we can keep the feet flat. I like that toe stretch. And yeah, we'll see if we can sit on our heels. And let's interlace those hands once again. And just start to make some circles. Some kind of figure 8 patterns, or it doesn't really matter what this looks like or what way you're going. We're just kind of stretching out through the wrists a little bit. And we might release that interlace and make some fists and circle the wrists one direction. And we can take a few the other direction. Maybe shake them out. because we're gonna use them. We're gonna come into our down dog next. So it starts from that same home base, that table shape. We're gonna bring those palms under shoulders, tuck the toes behind you, and start to press into the palms to lift the knees, stretch the legs out, tailbone to the sky, and continue to breathe as we hold here for just a few rounds of breath. We might be shaking the head a little, yes and no. We might be pedaling those feet, bending one knee at a time, taking our dog for a little walk. And now on a breath in, we're literally going to take our dog on a walk and see if we can step a couple of steps, or maybe tippy toe, or a couple big steps all the way up to the top of our mat, and we'll find ourselves in a forward fold. So those knees can stay softly bent. And we're just going to spend a moment or two dangling over those straight or straight-ish legs. There may be a sway in the upper body. Noticing the breath, noticing the facial muscles, the jaw, seeing if we can soften somewhere. And then pressing into those feet, keeping the knees soft. We're gonna inhale and slowly roll up. So bone by bone, we're just gonna stack the spine. Head can come last, and when we get all the way there, those shoulders might once again shrug up towards the ears. And exhale, release down. So just a little standing series here. We're gonna inhale, sweep those arms up to the sky. As we exhale, grabbing onto the right wrist and leaning over to the left side bend. I want us to think about keeping the tailbone slightly tucked so we're not shooting our butt back too far. And we might even step out a little wider with that right foot. Wonderful. Let's finish one more breath here. All the way in, completing that exhale. And then we'll inhale up through center and just change sides. So grabbing onto that left wrist, we'll lean over to the right. Thinking about relaxing that left shoulder down. Maybe we take a big step out with that left foot. One more breath. We'll complete the exhale. And then inhaling through center. Let's interlace our hands behind our head, opening those elbows wide, and go ahead and lean back into your hands, pressing those hip bones forward. Just drinking up a couple big breaths here. Maybe calling to mind that's something that came up earlier that you're really thinking about a lot or working on, or something that's really important to you to develop some consistency with. Let's finish one more round of breath. We'll complete that exhale, releasing those arms as we do. And we'll start to move into a little standing series. So from the top of our mat, we can either bring our hands to heart center, maybe hands to hips. And we're gonna take a big step back with that left foot. And then once we step back, we're gonna spin that back heel flat and find our warrior one. So both hip bones are shining forward. Hands can stay on our hips or at our heart, or maybe we decide to reach our arms up. Keeping the shoulders relaxed, face is soft. Maybe we turn our head up to look at the fingertips. And we'll find just a little bit of a flow in our warrior one. So inhale right where you are. And as we exhale, let's bend the elbows 90 degrees and find a cactus shape. Really bending back through the upper back and shoulder area. Just a couple more like that. We'll inhale, straighten the arms. And exhale, bend the elbows. Beautiful. How about one more? Nice. Next breath in, we're going to stretch those arms up to the sky. As we exhale, finding a warrior two. So hip bones open to the left side of our mat. We might have to widen the stance a little bit, kind of scooching the feet a little wider apart. As we keep that bend in the front knee, arms open out to the side. We can turn our head and look off of our front fingertips. And just find a couple of breaths here. If consistency is our goal, If we recognize that being consistent is so important to get where we want to go, it can be really helpful to make our consistent actions super, super small. I call them like stupidly small or magnificently small, just like really doable, bite-sized baby steps that we can actually commit to on a regular basis. Let's let our next exhale release the hands behind us. And we're gonna find that interlace once again. We're gonna shrug the shoulders away from our ears. Pull those knuckles down toward our tailbone and lift up through the chest, lift the chin. Keep breathing. We can stay right here. This is beautiful. We can make sure we're in that lunge, nice and deep in the front knee, pressing into the pinky toe side of that back foot. Or we can take a humble warrior. We might fold a little or a lot inside that front knee and start to take our knuckles up overhead. Whoa, I almost fell over into the wall. Breath is so important. Keep it flowing. Maybe you showing up to your mat today, even if you are not in this humble warrior, just the act of pushing play and doing what you can is your consistent baby step. Even if you don't get through the whole thing. Let's take one more breath. Rooting into those feet, we're gonna press into those strong legs and rise all the way up to standing. Release that bind. Find our warrior two, arms come out to the side, and we're gonna let all of that go. We're gonna cartwheel the hands down, frame that front foot, spin on the back toes, and step it back. We're gonna find our plank position. So from here, we can keep the knees lifted or lower them down. As we bend the elbows, they skin the rib cage, staying in close. Lowering chest and belly. Inhale, peeking up. And exhale, once again, finding our downward dog. And if we need a little break, we are welcome to find that table pose. Right? We can shake it out, we can take some cats and cows, or we can take a few breaths in our down dog. Totally up to you. Maybe another sigh is in order, maybe a shake of the head. I know that taking baby steps for some of us is hard, right? We want to do everything and we want to do it big and we want to do it right now. Let's start to walk ourselves to the front of our mat, maybe a couple little steps or tippy toes. And once again, we're in that forward fold. But again, if the goal is consistency and the steps that we're taking are so big and so time consuming and so hard, we are so much less likely to do it on a regular enough basis where we actually start to see some changes. Let's press into those feet and start to stack our spine. Beautiful work. We come all the way up to standing. Shrugging shoulders, down and back away from the ears. And let's just start to take that little flow on the other side. We're gonna take a big step back. Hands can be at hips or heart center. The right leg is gonna move behind us. We're gonna find that lunge, and when we found a good distance, let's go ahead and spin that back heel flat. So we're thinking about rotating that right hip forward. We're bending deeply into that left knee. And we might choose to lift those arms. I had a client say to me just today, this is perfect timing. He said an expression I've never heard, but I loved it so much, and it was, it's better to do a whole lot of little somethings than a whole lot of nothing. I just thought that was so brilliant and so true, right? Those little somethings, let's take those little elbow bends. Speaking of little somethings, we'll exhale, bend at the elbows, and inhale, straighten the arms. Baby steps might not seem like much in the beginning, but done consistently over time, we really get somewhere. They start to add up, they start to stack on top of each other. And before we know it, we've taken, 1,000 baby steps, and we're in a totally different place. Wonderful. Let's do one more little elbow bend. Inhale to stretch those arms up to the sky. And as we exhale, we'll find our warrior two. We'll open those arms out to the side, maybe scooching the feet a little wider so that we can really open through the hips and pelvis, keeping that deep lunge in the front knee. Maybe gazing off those left fingertips. Checking in with the breath. Maybe we even have an experience in our own life, right? Where we were tempted to, and it's like, okay, January 1st, I've never set foot in a gym, but I made a plan where I'm gonna go every day for an hour for, I don't know, the rest of time, and that's gonna be my fitness mission. Let's release the palms behind us. Once again, interlacing our hands, shrugging shoulders away from the ears, lifting through the chest, look up. And my question to you in those situations is, okay, how long did we stick with that plan? Where did that actually get us? How much fun and pleasure did we have in the process? Or were we just so overwhelmed and so stressed out that we gave up like after not too long? Beautiful. Let's take all of that length. If you want to, it's time to fold inside that front knee, taking those arms up overhead. This is a balancing pose in case you weren't able to feel that. Just know that that is normal. A little wobbly. Breath will help. Amazing. Maybe we can release one more. Maybe we can turn up the corners of our mouth. We're doing it. We're almost done. Let's press into those strong legs and rise up all the way back up to our warrior two. We can open those arms. And then we're going to cartwheel those hands down. Same thing. We're going to step back with that left foot. And take our vinyasa. Knees can be lifted or lowered. Elbows in as we lower down. Inhale to pull our heart through our arms. Lift the chin. And as we exhale, let's find a child's pose, allowing those knees to come wide, big toes come together, and we'll just melt over our legs. Maybe rest the forehead. We can even turn the head a little bit side to side. Beautiful work. Catch the breath. All right, and we're just going to stretch it out from here. So when we're ready, let's inhale, find our table pose. Once again, we've been here before. And from our table, let's inhale that left arm to the sky. So that's all nice and simple. Maybe we circle around through that left wrist. Getting all kinds of cracks and pops over here. I don't know if you can hear that. How about one more breath in? And as we exhale, we're gonna just slide that left arm underneath the right. And see if we can start to bring our left shoulder down, maybe left side of the face. We can bend through that right elbow. It's a shoulder opener. Maybe that right elbow rests on the earth, or we can always walk those fingertips a little bit more forward so that we're peeking under our right armpit. Let's just settle in here for another breath or two. And we can start to come out the way we came in by sliding. If that right arm is extended, right palm under shoulder. How about one more lift for the left arm? Stretching it up to the sky and then finding that home base tabletop. we'll switch sides. We'll inhale that right arm up to the sky. Again, we can circle around through that wrist. And then using an exhale to slide that right arm underneath the left one. Maybe we come down onto that shoulder, side of our face. Maybe we walk those left fingertips up a little higher. Beautiful. One more breath. And then again, we'll come out the way we came in, sliding that left palm under our shoulder. How about one more lift of the right arm to the sky. And then we can float it down. And we're going to make our way back down to that seat. However you want to get there. But this time we're going to bring soles of the feet together just for a moment in our butterfly pose. And from here, let's extend that left leg out in front of us. That right foot is going to plant on that left inner thigh. Again, we can think about sitting nice and tall on those sit bones. Big inhale, lift those arms up to the sky. And as we exhale, taking a fold over that left leg. There's this phenomenon that happens when we're on a growth journey or engaged in a process of change, where it feels like progress happens so slowly, right? It's like watching a plant grow. We like don't notice that growth is happening. And then the days go by, the weeks go by, the months, and all of a sudden, we notice enormous progress. It happens so slowly, and then it happens all at once. Where it's like, wow, I can't believe how tall that plant is. Like, oh my God, there's a flower for the first time, right? I didn't even really notice it growing. Then all of a sudden it's there. Or maybe we've reached for our toes 1,000 times and never made it. And then all of a sudden, there they are. Today's the day. We touch our toes. But that doesn't happen all at once. It doesn't happen by accident or magic. It happens from consistently showing up and putting in the effort, little by little, just like inch by inch. Let's see if we can melt down a little bit more. Final breath here. And then we can slowly start to inhale ourselves up, and we're just going to switch sides. We're going to stretch that right leg out in front of us. Left foot finds the right inner thigh. We can again scooch around so we can sit up nice and tall. Inhale those arms up to the sky. And exhale, hinging from the hips, thinking about moving our heart toward our foot rather than like yanking our shoulders out of their sockets to get to the toes. Continuing to breathe here. But if we quit, right? If we take steps that are too big, or our plan is too hard, or we just give up on ourselves because we're not making progress fast enough, we're never going to get to that point where we notice it. We're quitting too soon. We're quitting before the good stuff happens. We're throwing away the plant before it has a chance to flower. So let's not quit. Let's stay engaged in the process and keep taking those little steps and trust. Trust that if we put in the effort, we will get somewhere. It's only a matter of time. Wonderful. let's melt maybe a little bit more. Just a final breath here. We're so close to the end. We can use an inhale to roll on up. How about we straighten both legs out in front of us and just give them a little shake. I'm gonna turn back to the side. And we might bend the knees just for support because we're going to lower down onto our back. Or if you want to give the abs a little blast on the way down, this is a nice way to do it. We can extend those legs out in front of us, flex those feet, so pulling our toes toward our face. Maybe extend those arms and see how slowly you can lower down. Speaking of consistency and tiny, tiny shifts adding up with time, let's see if we can move in such slow motion that it doesn't even look to the naked eye like we're moving at all. And then all of a sudden, ooh, there's the shake. There will come a point where it feels like we catch and we can barely hold on. Oh my gosh, shaking. And then all of a sudden, we make it onto our mat. Beautiful work. Let's squeeze those knees into our chest when we get there. Maybe give them a little rock side to side. Let's take a final twist together. Let's release those feet to the mat. Maybe walking them about mats width apart, so a little bit wider as we open those arms out to the side. And let's just start to swish the knees a little bit back and forth, just like really slow, juicy windshield wiper motion. And we can rock our head side to side, kind of moving opposite direction of our knees. And when the knees land over to the left, let's keep them there. Pausing for a couple extra breaths, we can turn our gaze to the right. If we want a little extra zest in this twist, we could take our left foot and place it on top of our right thigh. So it's like the weight of our left foot is just like gently pulling that opposite leg a little bit more into the twist. And if you're like, what the hell are you talking about? You can feel free to leave that. The time is now to start to soften, right? Letting the muscles just kind of relax into the shape rather than working too hard or gripping or exerting. But the breath is still there. The breath is still full and supportive and conscious. And we'll take just one more on this side. And then we can let that left foot slide off if we've placed it there. How about just a couple little swishes in between sides? And then eventually the knees will land over to the right. We can turn our head to the left. Maybe we place that right foot on top of the left knee or thigh. Getting really heavy and softening for another breath or two. Before eventually sliding that foot off if we placed it and stretching out nice and long. Let's extend the arms and legs. Taking our most comfortable position for a rest. We made it. Amazing work. Breath by breath. Just one step at a time. We got there. And the time is now to release that deeper breathing and enjoy about a minute of rest. So let's take a big full inhale together. And sigh out the mouth. going to breathe our attention back into our body. You're always free to stay longer if you feel like you want and need it. But if we're ready to transition back to our lives, we can start to reawaken our physical body, maybe with wiggle of the fingers and toes. You can always enjoy that nice long stretch. Taking our time, we might simply rock forward into that seat, or if we want to kind of rock over onto one side and pause for a moment, we can. And eventually we'll make our way up to close out where we began. We're going to find that seat and bring our hands to heart center. And just take a moment of recognition for your effort, for showing up today, for doing your best, for sticking with it. And let's continue to show up every single day and take those consistent steps toward what it is we most want. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. Namaste. Great work, guys. So nice to be with you. I'll see you next time.